All right. Good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome to the Associated Guess. I, of course, as always, am Alfie Animus here on the Bear in Mind channel. Today, we've got three main stories. An IGN writer. It's just weird for IGN to be this based ever, and I'm sure this person has been let go, but we'll keep on that. But he says, I'm getting bored of every PlayStation game telling me
I'm a huge
the same story. An alleged Charlie Kirk fan, at least what the media is portraying to be a Charlie Kirk fan, has murdered two teenage girls. They don't mention the fact that he also is a teenager from the next town over, but we'll get into that. And then regarding the MoistCritikal situation, I have no idea what's going on with MoistCritikal. The last time I used to watch a lot of them. I very much like, I think his name's Charlie, but I very much used to watch him all the time, but I haven't watched him since the Sneeko situation. Well, I watched him a few times since then, but that's what got me back on with Penguin Zero. I follow him on X, but we'll see what's going on there. The last thing I saw was the clips and mags situation between Sneeko and Critical, so we'll check it out. So let's get started with this story from IGN. I never thought I'd thumbs up IGN again, but here we go. I'm sure he got a lot of blowback for this. I hope that he still has a job. If not, buddy, there's all kinds of base people out there who want good actual journalists, but we'll see.
I'm a huge fan of PlayStation's first-party offerings. They've come to embody the sort of cinematic adventures I've always looked for when sitting down with a controller in my hand, feeling like genuine blockbuster events meant to be savoured. But where in the past this brand of glossy storytelling felt like new ground being trodden, I can't help but feel that recently it's become the well-worn road. It's not just that all of PlayStation's major releases adhere to the now trademarked third-person cinematic stylings. It's that the stable of developers has become seemingly obsessed with stories that explore the exact same themes, grief and revenge. And I'm starting to get a little tired.
Which isn't bad, especially when it's an action or an epic. As you're seeing here, Ghost of Tsushima, I'm currently playing through that. Saturdays and Sundays, usually early in the morning. I apologize to my friends who want to watch me. But there is a lot of that. The first Last of Us was probably, and still is, the best story, gameplay, and appearing for its time video game all around. Ghost of Tsushima is probably pretty close up there. And then the lackluster sequels for both games.
Of it. As a rule, these games are all impeccably well made, but I'm starting to miss that era when PlayStation's range felt wider and things were a little bit more fun.
Well, they, like many game studios, have been alienating their audiences. I'm not quite here yet, but they are pretty much the same thing constantly, over and over and over and over again, especially when you stop and think about how they'll have a revolutionary first game for a franchise or a relaunch to a franchise or them acquiring a franchise, Spider-Man, and then the lackluster sequel. The gameplay will be slightly improved. You didn't have that obnoxious spin ball or whatever, what's her name was. But the second game just didn't have it on any of these games. The Ghost series, God of War even, and the sales, normally when the first game is amazing and the second game is also even really good or at least equally great, but a lot of the times in the histories of video games have the opposite problem that movies have. The sequels are usually actually better, for the most part, for the big ones, on the video games than they have been on movies. But especially for recent PlayStation titles, especially since PS5's been a thing, the sequels just haven't been there. They've looked amazing. They've had interesting features. But story-wise, character-wise, and a few other decisions. And you know what I'm talking about if you've watched this channel for any amount of time, which is not that long. But stuff's just getting weird. I hope we can get back to characters and storytelling instead of just girl bosses with no flaws kicking all the ass. And and I'm a guy who loves a girl boss, like an not a girl boss game, because that's like the new thing, and those are kind of awful. Pretty much ever since Captain Marvel, have you had these just really bland concepts? Like, I was a guy who loved Buffy the Vampire Slayer growing up. If I get an RPG, don't judge. I usually play as a woman. But I don't know. It's all got to do with the storytelling. It really, really does. Oh, I'm not saying that. Okay. No, it's not just because a lot of the Western RPGs allow you to have lesbian relationships in them. Why would you even say that?
The realization that so many PlayStation games have explored the same grim story themes struck me when playing through Sucker Punch's new Ghost of Yotei. While I thoroughly enjoyed it and admire its consistently exciting approach to combat and genuine sense of discovery it creates for exploration, I couldn't help but feel I'd been told its story before. As Atsu, you're tasked with avenging the death of your parents on a blood-soaked journey across 17th century Japan, as you hunt down each of the Yotei 6. Not only is this tale unfortunately close to the plot of Assassin's Creed Shadows, which I also played to completion earlier this year, but it's the same
which was also a horrible disappointment. And look, I will sing the praises of Ghost of Tsushima all day long. I've been wanting an Assassin's Creed set in feudal Japan ever since Assassin's Creed started branching out into different countries every game, which has been since the second game. It was in Italy. I was like, oh, man. And then the third game came out, and it was in America, and I was like, oh, God, we got to go back to feudal Japan. And they never would. They would go to all kinds of crazy places that you would expect some. Like Egypt, it makes sense. Greece, sure, whatever. And then I was like, Norway? What the? Norse mythology? What are we doing? What are we doing? Like, I was really expecting like a crossover between Assassin's Creed and God of War at that point. I was just like, come on, we've already got a great Norwegian main franchise game. Do we really need another one? A bunch of blonde-haired white people. And then I got Ghost of Tsushima, and I was very excited. And not only was I excited, I was relieved when the game was amazing. And then I hear, oh, they're finally doing an Assassin's Creed game, and they make the main character black in a game set in feudal Japan. I like the Sasuke material, like the lore. I don't like what they did with him in the game. Mostly because why would they call it Assassin's Creed Shadows and have a black character? It just seems kind of fucked up. But and for some reason, like, there's all kinds of other little things that came out, and this is just a side tangent. Like, watermelon wasn't in Japan in that era, and then for some reason you see it everywhere in the game. Like, there's all these little slights, and it's just, it's embarrassing, because whoever's researching a lot of these games are bad at their job. They're just horrible at their jobs. It's like it's like answering questions that no one asked, like how Han Solo got his dice in the Solo movie. Most people didn't even know he had dice, and two, no one cared how he got them. But sorry, tangents over. Let's continue.
Combination of fiery revenge arc crossed with meditations on what it is to grieve that has become something of a hallmark for PlayStation Studios in recent years.
I'm sorry it came to this, little wolf.
2019's The Last of Us Part 2 is an obvious trailblazer, with Ellie's dark descent into a rage-filled embodiment of revenge coming as a result of the death of her father figure Joel.
I will say, when it comes to The Last of Us 2, as much of a disappointment as that game was, the show was even worse. They took out everything that made that game special so far into the show. One, they should have recast Bella Ramsey. One, she's not that great an actor. She's good at playing the spunky 13-year-old, even though she's, 20, 21 now? But she looked exactly the same as she did in the first one, except her head keeps growing. Which, as someone with a huge head, I can relate and sympathize. But they just took out everything that made Ellie interesting and unique. And as much as I think that The Last of Us 2 really, really wanted to show how much they hated the characters from the first game, the show was even worse. They completely neutered Joe, and they neutered Ellie. Ellie, from the first game, and even some of the things they did with her in the second game, how grief can kind of sway you and coupled with rage, and if you don't get that checked out or talk to anyone about it, it can swell and cause you to do all kinds of unspeakable things. And it landed pretty poorly in the game, and even more poorly for what we've got so far in the show. I'm really not looking forward to season 3. I don't think they'll get a season 3, but if they do, it's going to be mostly focused on Abby, who's a much better actress, and she was originally supposed to play Ellie when it was supposed to be just a movie. But they even took out everything that made Abby interesting. She's not a big beefcake anymore. I wonder why, Neil. Is it because there's no way in a post-apocalyptic world that you can get to that stature as a dude, let alone a female? But anyway, let's continue.
That, of course, was the sequel to the 2013 original that explored how Joel struggled to cope with the death of his own daughter. At the time, The Last of Us was seen as fueling a wave of sad dad games, including 2018's God of War. But in hindsight, these were just the building blocks for PlayStation's preoccupation with grief.
And they were amazing games. Let's be honest. I'm looking forward to... I really need to actually play through and finish the first God of War again. I tried to do it on stream, but it didn't work. For some reason, Streamlabs... it's the only game that's ever given me this trouble, but it would not do anything for me. But they're great games. The first Last of Us, the first God of War, first Spider-Man, first Ghost game. A lot of first.
Find your way home. You are free.
2022's God of War Ragnarok is a story fueled by the loss of mothers and sons and the anger that comes with them. Insomniac's Spider-Man series follows both Peter Parker and Miles Morales as they attempt to overcome supervillain threats, as well as wrestle with their demons stemming from dead parental figures.
She never thought about herself, even when she was struggling to breathe.
2020's Returnal is a looping sci-fi nightmare born out of the protagonist Celine's familial grief-related trauma. And then there's 2025's other big PlayStation exclusive, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, which may not technically be a first-party game, but certainly is a verifiable feast of maternal and paternal anguish. Don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of all the games listed above, each singular in its depictions of characters and each offering wildly different gameplay experiences. But when viewed as a whole, it's easy to hear that their stories are all being sung from the same hymn sheet.
And I know this person's not coming from the same place as to why I'm not a fan of a lot of these sequels at the very least, but I'm just stoked that a mainstream gaming media or mainstream anything media is saying anything negative and true about anything. That's what Gamergate's been about, 1 and 2. Well, at least the first one. The second one was about mostly things like Sweet Baby, but the first Gamergate, it got completely morphed and dissolved as shit posters and the mainstream media narrative spin came in, but that was mostly about integrity and honesty in gaming journalism. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of the times it seems like a lot of the... And the same's probably true in movies and other media, but it seems like a lot of the people who go out there and are the critics for said media, it seems like they're just trying to be buddy-buddy with the creators of a lot of these things, and they want their access, they want their free stuff. So they'll curb the truth, they'll lie, and they'll say something is good when it's not. Or they'll say something's exactly as it should be, or hasn't changed, or this is something wonderful, when it's clearly not. And then you'll see something similar in the opposite direction when it comes to Hollow Knight Silksong. But I'm getting off topic. Let's continue.
Familial grief is at the centre of all of these stories, and while I certainly feel that mature themes have a place in games, it is all starting to feel like I'm getting hit around the head with the same ideas at this point. The cycle of violence is in very real danger of becoming a loop of diminishing returns.
You gutted my father.
He defied Lord Saito.
Then you tried to burn me alive.
Of course, it's true that not every PS5 game follows this pattern. Astrobot isn't an exploration of generational trauma in deep space, but you catch my drift. I think that's incidentally what I enjoyed so much about Team Asobi's Ode to PlayStation of old. With its joy and colour standing out from the otherwise morose crowd. It felt like a rarity, but it never used to be this way. The PS3 gave us Naughty Dog's Uncharted era, which, although it eventually ventured into more melancholic territory in A Thief's End, firmly planted its flag in themes of adventure with a tone ripped from the pages of Pulp Fiction. I've always had a soft spot for Insomniac's Resistance and its World War II/sci-fi warfare mashup, as well as Little Big Planet, which, all the way at the other end of the tonal spectrum, celebrated creativity and community.
Welcome to Bunkum Chummy Chum Chum, where the sky is strewn with circling clouds of imagination.
Yes, these games all contain varying levels of character nuances, but were all fundamentally about different things. Treasure hunting, alien invasions, and personal expression. They weren't all trying to serve the same story, and I can't help but feel that if a new Jak and Daxter game were to come out today, it would be about an Otzel's thirst for revenge against the killers of his blonde-haired friend.
Hang on, Dax, it's gonna be close!
I hope that future PlayStation exclusives can look to this more varied, interesting past for inspiration, even when choosing to tackle more serious...
That's another thing. The new Ratchet and Clank, it was weird. Now, I know Jak and Daxter's different, but, another... two guys, one creature, one personoid. The new one was just different. It was beautiful. Very well done, very crisp, really utilized the hardware, but...
serious subject matters. Team Ico's PS2 classic Shadow of the Colossus took on a mournful tone, but found something truly unique and poignant within it, at a time when such ideas were far less common in games. It stands as a unique masterpiece to this day, telling its tale through vagaries and minimal cutscenes, a far cry from the trademark cinematic style we now expect of PlayStation games. What we didn't have back in the mid-2000s were 5 more PS2 releases that took its exact contemplations on love and loss and told the same story in a different wrapping. Every time you played something new from Sony Studios on the now 25-year-old console, it felt like a brand new experiment with a different story to tell, not just a variation on a theme. That brings me back to Ghost of Yotai, a game that is superior to its predecessor in almost every aspect,
I doubt that.
barring its central story.
My name.
See, and that's one thing that I mean. The story and the characters is the most important thing. Gameplay is very important. The game has to be fun. The game has to be enjoyable. It can't be a clinker. We can't have tank controls these days. So, and a lot of people will focus on gameplay. That was a slip. I apologize. Gameplay, mechanics, and all that. They'll improve upon that. They'll improve upon the graphical fidelity and everything in that realm. But the stories and the characters will suffer because you can't find anything interesting. Originally, Ghost of Yotai was supposed to be Ghost of Tsushima Part 2, but the American studio saw differently, and I'm pretty sure the Japanese studio or PlayStation Japan was quite upset by that.
Is Atsu.
While I connect to Atsu more than I ever did Jin Sakai, she's a much warmer presence to spend a few dozen hours with. Ghost of Tsushima's narrative explores different, fresher ground. The story balances the personal struggles of Jin against the backdrop of an invasion of a nation, with themes of honor, betrayal, and belonging striking a chord and making it stand out when it arrived hot on the heels of The Last of Us Part 2 in 2020, before grief seemingly took hold of every Sony storyteller. Perhaps PlayStation's interest in grief is a reflection of the state of the world, though. When viewed through the lens of when PS5 exclusives like Ghost of Yotai and Death Stranding were being written, that melancholy is somewhat understandable. The COVID pandemic inarguably took hold of our planet in the years 2020 and 2021, and as such, themes surrounding unexpected loss and mass trauma would no doubt have been at the forefront of many minds.
A lot of my friends
It would therefore
still
be intriguing to see if this pattern will continue much further then, now that the world has somewhat settled back into what it looked like beforehand. Will the stories being told in projects that began production post-2022 mirror a different state of the planet, or continue to look inside ourselves at our darkest moments? These are, of course, all valid tales to tell, and I'm a huge proponent of art being reflections of those creating it, but I can't help but wish for a little more variety going forward.
I will find every last member of the Yote Six. And I will bring you peace.
There's a reason to be hopeful and skeptical, considering what Sony has coming up next. Insomniac's Wolverine looks to be delivering on all of the gore and decapitation you'd hope to see, but will that mature rating be reflected in its themes?
That's always waiting.
Logan is certainly a character consumed by lust for revenge. Will that see us taken down a familiar path of burying past demons through ultraviolence? Or will we get an altogether different story that taps into a different part of his psyche? James Mangold's Logan already told us a tale that would have slotted nicely into PlayStation's sad dad canon, as X-23 tapped into the softer side of his adamantium body. So I do hope we don't just get a rerun of that idea here. We also know that Saros is on the way from Housemarque in March, and it certainly looked impressive in the most recent State of Play stream. As for Naughty Dog, the ground zero of this long-running era of grief, we know that the studio will be taking on the sci-fi realm next with Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. Its first trailer was promising, delivering a more fun-filled tone than we'd ever dream of seeing from The Last of Us. Of course, we've barely scratched the surface here, but it would be fantastic.
This is another situation where the actors and actresses in the games have Rachel Zeglered this movie, we'll say. They've completely alienated a huge swath of the fan base. And let's hope that the internet forgets, because it rarely does.
To see Naughty Dog rediscovering some of that uncharted levity here.
Because I really want great.
Both of these upcoming PS5 games,
far, this
incidentally,
like
are stories
another example, not unlike Zack Snyder's crappy, was supposed to be a Star Wars story, but ended up just being a really crappy ripoff of a Star Wars story. Let's hope that's not the case for Heretic, because it really does look like just a crappy ripoff of a Star Wars story.
It's about people investigating lost off-world
a
colonies.
Ripoff,
I hope for my sake
crappy.
that they find wildly different stories to tell on each of them, rather than discover reminders of the grief they've left behind.
But after every death, I always come back stronger.
For more on Ghost of Yotai, make sure to check out our review, and for everything else, keep it locked to IGN.
So that was the most honest I've ever seen any mainstream media source be in a very, very, very long time. Like, it's crazy. But let's continue to the alleged Charlie Kirk Fan murder.
And I want to address something else, okay? Because this is a very serious incident that happened. And I really don't even know if I should be streaming this right now, but I have built a great following on TikTok with 39,000 followers that I have grown since 2020. And I want to thank each and every single one of y'all. I love you all to absolute death.
So let me see if I got this right. 2 teenagers were run over and killed over these past few days by another teenager.
Hundreds of community members in Cranford, New Jersey gathered to honor the memory of 2 teen girls hit and killed by a driver. The suspect is in custody tonight, but police are offering a $10,000 cash reward for video of the incident. Fox 8's Arthur Sheehan has the urgent message from authorities.
It's absolutely terrible.
A mother's gut-wrenching wails could be heard from down the block on Burnside Avenue as family, friends, and neighbors of 2 17-year-old girls who were mowed down gathered Tuesday night to process their pain and loss. Over 500 people showed up, exchanging long hugs at a growing makeshift memorial, the only comforts available to them. A glaring injustice for what they say was a deliberate hit and run that took the lives of their 2 innocent girls.
I had only seen one girl, and then I walked down the street a little bit and I saw the other girl, and just horrible.
On Monday at 5:30 in the afternoon, the driver of a black Jeep Compass SUV allegedly mowed down the 2 17-year-old girls who were on bikes, the force sending them flying over 100 feet down the road. The driver took off. Residents tell us the bike stuck underneath might have disabled the SUV about half a mile down the road, where they say the driver was arrested.
And the one thing some people are fixating on because they have nothing else to do is that the sick fuck who did it was a fan of Charlie Kirk. And for a while, everyone was trying to figure out, how do you even know that? You're just making that up. You're lying. You hate Charlie Kirk and you just want to attach him to this. Free speech warrior this, free speech warrior that. Well, I thought that as well for a while, but because social media is the ultimate drug for some individuals, after running these girls over and killing them, this dumbass got on YouTube and was live streaming MLB The Show, talking about these girls as if he knew them and he was sad to find out that they passed away. R.I.P. condolences. It's really weird once you know this is the guy who ran them over and killed them.
In a neighboring town, unfortunately, 2 girls were killed in a hit-and-run crash.
Why would you do this? Why would you do the act in the first
There's
place?
been a lot of
Why would you do this
misinformation going on over the internet. But I will say this. I wish my sincerest condolences to those 2 girls lost in that tragic accident. Okay? It is an absolute unfortunate situation, and there's more to the story that you're not getting.
And what makes the Charlie Kirk thing play a factor is that either the day after or beforehand, this guy is sending pizzas to one of the girls' houses, and he's on the phone talking about, oh, it'll be paid in cash at the door, and he lets it slip that they should be thinking about the things that they say in the future, because I believe one of the girls was not very kind to Charlie Kirk after he got shot and killed, and she was making crass comments about him online.
He tells viewers it's all because allegedly Maria had made fun of Charlie Kirk.
Whenever Maria sees the pizza guy come, better think of Charlie Kirk for making fun of his death. Stupid clown.
And let's take a break just to say one thing. If he didn't deserve to die for opinions that you either agreed or disagreed with, she don't deserve to die for not caring about him passing away or getting shot in the neck. These are factors in free speech that a lot of people jump through when they want to make an excuse. Neither one of these people deserve to be dead.
No, none of them deserve to be dead. No one deserves to die for words. No one. It's just that simple. Charlie Kirk doesn't deserve to be dead, and these 2 young girls don't deserve to be dead.
Just so we're clear. And the element of Charlie Kirk being involved in this is very small in comparison to everything else, because I said a factor. Him being a fan of Charlie Kirk is a factor. It's the smallest factor, arguably insignificant in my opinion. Why? Because if I were to just tell you, Charlie Kirk fan did this, and I stopped there, and you didn't bother to look into it further, you would maybe think I'm either lying or you would hold a little bit of credence to what I'm saying. But when you find out that This sick fuck was stalking this girl for months. He was harassing this girl for months to the point where she had to put in a restraining order on him to keep him as far as fuck possible away from her. And then you find out there's this story going around about this kid having a little bit of naughty material on his phone. You realize that there's a lot more here than just Charlie Kirk fan mad, so he runs over people.
Then came word the driver, also a 17-year-old, knew one of the victims and had been, in their words.
And that's one important thing. A lot of the news stories are keeping the dude's age out of them. A lot of people think that this was some older person and a teenager. No. I don't know why they're keeping it out, but that's another thing that's being kept out of a lot of the things. They're putting in the fact that he's a Charlie Kirk fan, even though he's only mentioned it like the one time that you just saw. But then they're keeping his age out because they want you to believe that he's some college student or some older 25, 30-something who killed a couple of kids.
Stalking her for months.
He's been parked out front of her house.
Online, or they want your imagination.
In
Following
school.
her.
Yeah.
It was, the school was notified, the police were notified, like for 3 months now.
And nothing happened.
No.
He was never stopped.
No.
Maria and Isabel are the names on the memorial, the mayor posting that they were students at Cranford High School until this. Others tell us the driver is related to the police chief of a neighboring town and had been repeatedly appearing at the victim's home prior to this.
A fellow gamer asks if he'll drive to Maria's house to watch the pizza be delivered.
I did that the last time, but the mother saw me pull up in the car, and I got tracked, and the police, did what they did.
Bataloro made the video 9 days ago. On Monday, when the two girls were killed, police say
and that shows the maturity level of this kid.
Before they found and detained
he knows how to do all these things.
Him an astonishing
he knows how to do all these things. As I think he'll mention here in a second. He knows how to make a burner phone. He knows how to do all these other things, but he doesn't know anything better to do than have a pizza delivered. Like, that's very 1980s. As far as, this person did something that I don't like, or this person's mean to me, I'm going to have pizzas delivered to their house.
Tickets, but he was not arrested because he claimed it was an accident.
You get a story about a weirdo
one
acting
kid's an
upon
accident.
his weirdness, and he doesn't make himself out to be an innocent person who we should have sympathy for, because he tries that game of, these false accusations on me. I'm just a 17-year-old kid.
Making threats against my family will not be tolerated. My cousin has received hateful messages over social media about this whole spiel, and he's had to unfollow me on everything because of this whole drama. This will be in the hands of Jesus. Everything will be okay. I've been bullied, ridiculed, and stuff over false...
Which would mean something if you haven't killed someone.
...false allegations, okay? Over this whole thing about things that have happened in the past. I really think you all should be a lot nicer to each other. If anything happens, I'm going to give you all some advice, all right? If you get bullied and ridiculed in school about, stuff that people hate you, I would tell your counselor immediately.
I would also not run people over.
Before this gets out of hand,
I would also not run
you
people
got to
over.
address all these things, because I'll tell you what, the amount of bullying that I've been put through in the past has been absolutely absurd.
You don't make yourself out to be the innocent person after killing two people and getting on social media to feed me a fucking sob story. You make yourself out to be a little bit deranged, a little bit suspect, and overall a fucking criminal. And there's the added element of a lot of people didn't really do anything about this. And the speculation for that is because he's a relative to a cop in the area who has since distanced himself away from this, because if you were anybody with a functioning brain, your family member is in jail now for running over two people, you would think the best option is to say, hey, even though I'm a cop, I do not condone any of this shit. This dumb fuck has a lot of charges on his back because of this, and he wants you to know that there's a lot of misinformation out there. He's been lied about, and the truth will come out, and you will see that he is nothing more than a victim who had to act upon his victim complex. And I'm here to say, if it does, so what? You've killed 2 people, so it will negate anything you're trying to paint for yourself as an innocent party. Why? Need I say it again? You ran over 2 people and killed them. You can talk about mental health all you want and how you've been bullied. All of that, to me, gets negated when you decide, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to openly harass people. I'm going to openly stalk them. I'm openly going to be in a position to where I'm going to have a restraining order put on me. And oh, by the way, in case anyone wasn't aware, if I haven't said it or if you haven't been clued in, he ran over 2 people and killed them. And the only comforting thing is that because this has gone viral, people have donated money and funeral expenses are being paid for by the generosity of people who recognize that a family or 2 families have lost 2 people in their lives that are important to them. And I believe that is a positive way to look at this. In the midst of stupid people committing acts of violence and tragedy, at least there's comfort in knowing that people will want to make sure that grieving families are okay. And for that piece of shit, I hope you rot in hell, because no matter what was going on in your life to where you were the one that was being bullied by a bunch of people, the sympathy anyone could have for you is gone, because in case you didn't get clued in yet, you've killed 2 people, and no amount of you getting on YouTube and streaming is going to save your ass, and may you rest in hell for all eternity.
I think Maria's hungry. I think we're going to send her a pizza. Cheer her. So... y'all know I have a vengeance against this girl for accusing me of sending porn and shit. I'm gonna call
for accusing me of stuff that I did.
And here's how I'm gonna do it. So I told you all that I bought the brand new iPhone 17 Pro Max the other day, and I'm gonna be using this as my main phone now. Better camera and shit to do vlogs on. But in the process, I still have my iPhone 16 Pro Max. And here's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be converting this as a burner phone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call Domino's. And I'm going to have a pizza sent to her house. And I'm going to tell the guy the driver will be paid cash at the door. Yes, cash at the door. So, Fula, or my dad wants to call you Falula, don't fool me, stupid fucking name. You should not have accused me of sending porn. And you should not have dragged me into creating a police report. So, Fula, you made a bad decision making a bad name of myself. You made a bad decision having this girl return to that school without me being there.
Even if all this is true, or even if it is everything that she said was false, you still killed them. Like, it only makes their previous claims seem more true if you kill them for saying them. Any thought of innocence that could have been had for you is gone because you killed them. Factually, you killed them.
Yeah.
With your
I think you're
Jeep
hungry.
Compass.
We're gonna send you a pizza.
But to end this, I'm going to bring it back to what I said earlier. When things go viral and you see people only having one thing.
Also, when you're talking about online making a burner phone so you can stalk and harass people and send them pizzas, it kind of makes people think that you may have been stalking and harassing them on all these other instances as well.
Thing that they repeat over and over and over again, do your best to look into it just a little bit, because you'll either get that exact thing 100% as it is and it would just be that, or you'll find out more. Because in the midst of hearing that a Charlie Kirk fan did this and Charlie Kirk inspired motherfuckers to do this, you would think, if you didn't want to look into it, that, oh my God, This Charlie Kirk was very hateful and evil and all that. And he probably is to some people. But when I sit here and find out that this dude was just a habitual fucking weirdo, yeah, the Charlie Kirk thing on the list of reasons, that's at the bottom. Him stalking somebody for months, that's right up there at the top. But, you know, subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think down below, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Mwah. Goodbye.
Hey, what's up, guys? Rick here.
Okay, unfortunately, I do have an appointment, so I'm not going to be able to. This is a 21-minute video. I'm not going to be able to get into the Penguin Zero bit. But I did promise 3 things. We might get to it tomorrow. I just want to look, love him or hate him. Russell Brand's been around forever. I've dated girls who are obsessed with Russell Brand. But apparently he says, I'm taking some time off to reflect on how or even if I can be of any use in this fraught, tense, and often ugly space. So much hate, so many lies, and now deaths. I know the miraculous technology can be used to serve Jesus. I pray we will work out how. Let's see what his actual words are. It's about 53 seconds.
I take some time off and think about what to do next. I feel like, you know me, my ego will drag me back in front of a camera before too long. Yeah. You know what I'm like. I'm going to take this opportunity to cultivate a deeper relationship with God, to reflect on what's happening in this culture, and to see how, you know what they say is where what you have to offer meets what the world needs. And if I have nothing to offer that the world needs, then that will take care of itself, won't it? I'll just maybe get a little cabin somewhere and be with my beautiful, beautiful children. Anyway, so I'm gonna take some time off. We'll see. If the world needs my voice, it will find a way of getting it. Well, it's not like who knows? It might not be a long break. I'm gonna have a little break. We'll have a little break and continue and pray, because it can't just be sort of this continual futile squabble. So I'm going to take
and Russell Brand, best of luck, brother. I truly hope you find whatever peace or whatever you're looking for, and I hope you come back. You're very entertaining. I haven't watched you in a while since you shifted to Rumble, unfortunately. Just because Rumble doesn't seem to like any of my things that I can watch it on. And but once I start streaming on Rumble, I'm definitely going to make a few more adjustments. And probably eventually I will just be on Kick, Rumble, maybe Locals. Locals might be bonus stuff. Twitch until I get banned. But I'm only putting gaming stuff on there for now, and I'm really just doing it because I have a few friends who throw me their free Prime subs. Now that I've become monetized. I'm monetized on Twitch, by the way. But YouTube, I will probably convert to a Clips channel once I get monetized on on all 3 of the others. Right now I'm monetized on Kick and Twitch, but I don't have enough of a steady following for it to make much of a difference. So I'm hoping once I get, I think, 1 more follower I need on Rumble, and then I can start streaming. I didn't know that was a thing until I, started looking into stuff. But if I can get monetized on those 3 services, then yes, I will in fact make YouTube probably more of a Clips channel. I'll probably still stream all of my gaming stuff to YouTube. But as far as the daily show, I will more than likely just do on Kick and Rumble for now. And then just do Clips, or at least a slightly more polished version of it on YouTube once I get to that level. But I'm still a few months off from that, so it's nothing we have to worry about at this immediate moment. But let's see if there's anything. Oh, yeah, this. J.D. Vance posted, and I've heard updates since this. There have been very positive discussions with Hamas and countries from all over the world, Arab, Muslim, and everyone else, this weekend to release the hostages in the war in Gaza, but more importantly, finally have long-sought peace in the Middle East. These talks have been very successful and proceeding rapidly. The technical teams will again meet Monday in Egypt to work through and clarify the final details. I am told that the first phase should be completed this week, and I'm asking everyone to move fast. I will continue to monitor the centuries-old conflict. Time is of the essence, or massive bloodshed will follow, something that nobody wants to see, which is true. I haven't had enough time because I saw this right before bed last night. And then I heard some updates this morning, but I haven't had a chance to verify them because I have an appointment this morning and I had to start everything earlier. But Netanyahu apparently came out against this. Not for everything, but there's one thing, like they had like a 21-point deal or some such, something to that effect. It may have been in the teens, it may have been a slightly higher number than 21, but around 21-point deal. And it did everything. It freed the hostages. It made Hamas, I'm pretty sure it was like Hamas has to stay within Palestine. They have to relinquish power. They have to give it to the people of Palestine. You know, stuff that everybody wants. Everybody, whether you're on the Israeli side or if you're on the Palestinian side. As long as you're not one of the Hamas people, as long as you're not Hassan Diddy bin Laden, communist with a Gucci bag piker, who's going on, and this is his only bread and butter, talking about yay terrorist, which Hamas is, so are the Houthis, but this is talking about, I just realized you can't see me, this is talking about peace in the Middle East. If Donald Trump can do this, if Netanyahu doesn't bitch out of it, and if Hamas sticks to it and gives power to the people, this could be huge. This could be legacy defining. This could be the thing that the whole world needs. I don't know. If it's real, and then this is also crazy, the first hurricane in a long time that I can remember may hit the coast of California by early next week. Hopefully it dissipates. I don't want anything bad to happen to California. Just because I disagree with people doesn't mean I want bad things to happen to them, but it could also bring much needed rains to the California area. So I hope they get just the rains, the same thing that you normally get when you're far enough inland, but I hope they get just enough to give them enough rains to make sure that their fire season isn't as bad as it normally is. I really do. I really do. I don't want anything bad to happen to Californians. I don't care if they disagree with me. I don't care if they've gone off the deep end. I don't care if they're a bunch of rich elitists. I don't want anyone to die. No one should die because you disagree with them. But sorry, Rev, I'm not going to be able to get to that or the moist critical situation today. I am very curious as to what it is. But I'll probably get into that tomorrow unless something crazy happens today, and I'll probably get more into the why Netanyahu, what the one or two things that Hamas would not agree to are, and why they're more important than all the hostages and the dead bodies to get returned to their families. But that's all for me. As always, I've been Alpha Animus. You guys have been awesome. I very much appreciate everyone who's come in here. All the engagement in the chat. If you engage in the chat, I don't care if you're a spammer. My heart goes out to you. I appreciate it very much. Drop a like before you head out, and I will see y'all probably tonight. It depends, but I do need to start doing my Halloween streams, and the only thing I can think of to do is either, Fluffy. There's two games I might do. I might, if I can bring myself to get the new Alien game. I think it's on sale anyway, or at least cheap. If not, I think there's like Loopy or some kind of blue fuzz monster, kind of scary Halloween games for Peter to play. But we'll get into that tonight. But y'all have a great day. It means the world to me that y'all even come by and check this out. And for everyone watching this later, thanks for, coming to my weird little corner of the internet. Take care.